Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hi, hello everyone, and a very good evening. Thank you for joining us today. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us again on another episode of the UM exclusive webinar series organized by the Marketing and Recruitment Center, Universiti Malaya. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mat Mahathir bin Subwa, the Marketing and Recruitment Executive in charge of the marketing activities and promotion of our academic programs, both at the local and international levels with specialization in student recruitment as well as marketing. And I will be your moderator for today. Before we start our session, let us go through some of the housekeeping announcements so that we can have a seamless session. Okay. Firstly, please mute your microphone and please do not click any button before and during the webinar session, as this session will be recorded. Therefore, we seek your kind assistance. Secondly, today's webinar will be divided into two main segments. The first part will be the introductory session, which will be conducted by our guest speakers, and the second session will be the Q&A session, which will be moderated by me. Kindly note that the audience is encouraged to ask questions related to today's topic through the Q&A button down below, and I will be reading your questions accordingly depending on the remaining time of today's session. Last but not least, we really appreciate if you could share with us your feedback of today's webinar through our feedback form that will pop out right after this session ends. So without further ado, let me introduce our honorable guest speaker for today. Associate Professor in Senior Dr. Suhana Muhammad Said is currently an Associate Professor in Department of Electrical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Universiti Malaya. She obtained her Master of Engineering in Engineering Science from the University of Durham, United Kingdom in 1997. She then gained her PhD from the University of Oxford, UK, in liquid crystal technology in 2003. She is also registered as a professional engineer with the Board of Engineers, Malaysia, and as a chartered engineer with the Institution of Engineering and Technology, UK. Dr. Suhana is currently Deputy Dean of Undergraduate Studies at the Faculty of Engineering, UM. She has a keen interest in engineering education and internalization as a means for enriching the student learning experience through cultural and technical exchanges. Her research interests are thermoelectric materials and devices, electronics, packaging, and molecular modeling of electronic materials. In particular, she favors using density functional theory, DFT modeling, to provide a framework for a systematic methodology in designing high performance electric and energy materials from the molecular level. She has been actively researching thermoelectric as a renewable energy technology since 2009. She has published over 100 scientific papers, filed 5 patents, and has been invited and as a plenary speaker in several international conferences in her fields of research. She has held visiting researcher position at Tohoku University, Japan, and Cambridge University, UK. She is also currently the president of the Malaysian Thermoelectric Society. She also has a particular passion for capacity building of young engineers through a structured engineering education curriculum emphasizing on critical thinking, interdisciplinary studies, and complex problem-solving capabilities. It is with great honor to have you to be on board with us today to share your vast experience as a Deputy Dean for undergraduate studies. And with that, let us together fulfill our dream to be world-class engineer at world-renowned engineering school. Without any further delay, please welcome Dr. Suhana to continue our session. Over to you, Doctor.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Mahathir, for the very kind and gracious introduction. As you can see, I'm not alone today. I'm actually accompanied by the heads of departments and representatives from our engineering departments. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you my colleagues at this table today. Starting from my left-hand side, if you see, is Dr. Chow Chi-on, Head of Department of Electrical Engineering, followed by Professor Ngoh, Head of Department of Chemical Engineering. The one sitting next to me is Associate Professor Datin Bushra, who is the Head of Department of Mechanical Engineering. To my left is Dr. Nasrul, who is the Coordinator for Biomedical Engineering. And last but not least, we have Senior Dr. Yuan, who is a Senior Lecturer with Civil Engineering. So I will start to share my presentation. And so as what Mr. Mahathir has said, there will be two parts. Actually, my colleagues will be with me for the first part, which is an introduction to the faculty and what we do in the program of engineering at University of Malaya. After that, we will have a changeover, and I will have some of international students, current students and recent graduates who will come and join me for a more relaxed sharing session on their experiences at UM. So I hope that you can make most of the question and answer session after my presentations. So let's get started. So that's actually a picture of the international students at UM during an ice-breaking session. So welcome to my session. So I just have a very brief introduction to myself. I think Mr. Mahathir has done a more than adequate job of introducing me. I've actually been with University of Malaya for 22 years. I teach electromagnetics because I'm in the Department of Electrical Engineering. So my subjects are more mathematics and physics based, but recently I'm also quite passionate about teaching product design. Just to give a different perspective on, as engineers, your main job is to actually design engineering systems. I won't go into my areas of research because I think that was pretty much elaborated by Mr. Mahathir. On the right is a picture of me with my research team and a visiting professor from Japan and also an exchange student from Japan. What I want to say is that we are a research university and a lot of our day-to-day lives or working hours are to do with research. So it's a very vibrant community where we try to both merge research with teaching, both postgraduate and undergraduate. So I'll just recap who my guests are. We have Professor Ngoh, who is the head of chemical. We have Associate Professor Datin Bushra, head of mechanical. Associate Professor Dr. Chow, who is head of electrical. Dr. Nasrul, acting head, biomedical. And IR Dr. Yuan, a senior lecturer at civil engineering. Later on, we'll be having some of your seniors come in. Mr. Pedram, who recently graduated from electrical engineering. We have Mr. Muhammad Hisham from mechanical engineering and Mr. Ali from electrical engineering. So I'll just briefly explain what the structure of my talk is about and how they kind of hopefully flow into one another. So firstly, for those of you who are not sure about, Malaysia, our faculty, I'll give a brief introduction to who we are and what we do. I will then follow up with kind of an idealistic picture of what an engineer does, because there could be some of you who are not actually sure about which course to take. You're at this very exciting stage in your youth where the possibilities are endless. So I just want to give you the perspective of what an engineering education or engineering career would take form. And moving on from that, I would like to demonstrate how our curriculum at University of Malaya hopefully trains you in those kinds of skill sets. Then we get on to some of the more fun part where hopefully we show you the different opportunities, the different experiences that our students have, and a very brief mention of what lies in the future for you, should you choose to come to UM. So introductions, just a mention of the picture in the back is a historical building for us. It was the old chancellery. We are actually in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. We are actually 9 kilometers away from city center. If you are familiar with the Kuala Lumpur city center, this picture at the bottom, We are only 9 kilometers away. We are a very green campus, very close to the city center. So it's a very attractive proposition even for our local students to come to UM, because it provides a merging of a very cosmopolitan atmosphere and yet a very kind of village-like environment at the same time. We are very well connected. Kuala Lumpur is actually, I would say, in relatively close proximity to a number of countries. So if you're from China, it takes about 5 or 6 hours. Definitely if you're in Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, you are in the range of 2 to 3 hours from Kuala Lumpur. And then if you're from India as well, that takes about, India, Pakistan, another 5 hours, and the Middle East about 7 or 8 hours. So I believe we are well connected. It's attractive for many people to come to Malaysia, either for study, tourism, and so on in normal circumstances. So what you see now is our modern building, the Chancellery, where the Vice Chancellor, the administration of the university is being carried out. And as I said, it's a very green campus. So despite it being very close to the city center, you see the center is actually, greens and lakes. So we are the oldest university in Malaysia. We have been around for more than 100 years. If you know of Singapore and the National University of Singapore, they were our twin, because Malaysia and Singapore used to be a single country. And when they separated in the 60s, we separated into what is now known as the University of Malaya and the National University of Singapore. So that's the evolution of and up to now, we have had many, many illustrious alumni, both locally and internationally, coming out of the University of Malaya. We are a relatively large university, a student body of more than 26,000 students. Of that, about 16,000 are undergraduates and more than 10,000 are postgraduates. So you see that the ratio of the undergraduate to postgraduate students are very healthy, due to the fact that we are a research university and we have many international students, making it as a first preference to come to to further their studies. We are also Malaysia's top university. I'll go into a little bit about the international recognitions that we receive. We also have a very big number of teaching staff. Faculty members are more than 2,300. So moving on now to the Faculty of Engineering. Again, a very green background, despite being a very technologically driven faculty. This is kind of the view from the Greens. We are 5 departments. As through the introductions, I believe that you have picked up the fact that we are electrical, chemical, mechanical, biomedical, and civil engineering. So if you are not quite sure which branch of engineering you are looking at, or even engineering at all, then hopefully part of my slides will help you address that as well. So just to give you a perspective on who we are as a faculty, we have the Dean, who is Professor Saad Nakhlef, and then I'm the Deputy Dean for Undergraduate Studies, which means that I take care for the faculty, all the undergraduate students, which are more than 2,000 students. I have my colleagues at the departments, the heads of departments whom you see here today, who run the departments both for undergraduate and postgraduate level teaching. So our school has about 150 academic staff. We have a very healthy ratio of male to female lecturers. So if you're a female potential student and thinking, is engineering for me? Are there going to be any biases for me to be a female engineer in the industry? Let me assure you that these healthy numbers will indicate that is not the case. We also have a very strong non-academic staff to help us on the technical side and on the clerical side. And I think you can see here that we also have international staff, including our dean. So we have 90% local staff and 10% international staff coming from a range of countries, sort of in Middle Asia and close by. We have one from Netherlands. And we have a very healthy proportion, about right now 30%, who are also professional engineers. You might notice when I introduce my colleagues, I would give the term Insinyur IR. So being a professional degree, engineering is a professional degree, we need to impart the professional knowledge to our students as well. So it's not just textbook material, it's not a science, it's an applied science. And we impart the kind of professional knowledge to our students. So we have a very healthy number of professional engineers as part of our academic staff. This is just to give you an indication of how many students we have. I would, for this purpose of this talk, I would focus on the left side graph, which just shows you 2,289 students, okay? From that, you might see the inner circle. The biggest department, 781 undergraduates, is mechanical engineering, okay? Followed by electrical engineering, which has 491. And then that is followed by chemical engineering and civil engineering, somewhat slightly smaller, but no less impressive. And last but not least, we have biomedical engineering, very special for the fact that it's a marriage between mechanical and electrical engineering, but for the biomedical industry. Okay, and from those numbers, we have 92% local students and 8% international students. Okay, so I think a lot of, from the advertisement that you received for today's session, they kind of position this talk as for a leading university. That is partly due to the fact that we are internationally acknowledged through different ranking bodies. So in the field of engineering and technology globally, through the QS rankings, we are number 55. And if you look at the different departments, electrical is number 46, and the other programs, mechanical, civil, and chemical, they are in the top 50 to 100. So you're in very good hands in terms of the expertise who teach the faculty students. We also had this recognition through the best global universities in engineering, where we are seen to be the top 100 in the world in the fields of energy and fuels, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and chemical engineering. And of course, it goes without saying that for these following fields that we are the top ranking in Malaysia. Our researchers have also been acknowledged. So we have over 20 as the world's top 2% scientists by Stanford University, and this was declared, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations, just to show you the capability of some of our academic staff. So that's where we are right now. So I was going to go into hopefully a little bit more exciting content on the engineer skill set. What are engineers? What do they do in the first place? So I thought this definition, which was taken from the Japanese, is quite reflective of who we are. We are not scientists. I'll explain the difference in a bit. It is a marriage of both science and an art. So the first character is like the heavens and the earth and bridge together. So it's to bridge the application of science. So engineering is a study for creating products, conceptual designs, and environments that is useful for human society. Engineers make the world function, but we use the laws of nature in order to make these technologies for the betterment of mankind. So what it means is that you need multiple skills. You're probably told by your teacher, if you want to be an engineer, your math and science needs to be good. But that's just the technical part. You need good communication. You need to have a talent or knowledge of project management. You have to have an ethical sense. If you are a civil engineer, you need to take into consideration the ethical practices to make buildings, for example. Sustainability, you are a chemical engineer. You deal with practices so that you don't pollute the environment. So you have, water treatment practices. How do you dispose of waste from the chemical industry, from the petrochemical industry? Because commercial aspect cannot be downgraded. So you need to be multitasking or multiple skills for an engineer. So maybe again, for those of you, you've just finished school or finishing school, you want to know the difference. So what's the difference between a scientist and an engineer? I'm very fond of scientists. I come from a family of scientists. Scientists explain how things work. In contrast, engineers make things work. We need each other because we need to understand the laws of nature and how to harness them to make them work for society's benefit. It goes hand in hand. And the philosophy is we're working towards something we call engineering science, so that you get very strong basics in the engineering studies that you do here. You can go out into the world and work in whatever industry that you wish. That is my hope. Again, what's the difference, between the technicians and the engineers? And technicians, if you see the electrician, on the pylons and so on, they execute, they maintain. But the engineers are the ones who design systems and implement the systems. Again, we need each other to execute, to maintain and upgrade the engineering systems which are designed. Okay, so what are the steps, in an engineering career or in engineering development? I just want to give you an insight of what do you do. So the first step is that you have to have innovation. You need to do a bit of research. And I just like this quotation, I don't care they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any idea of their own. And to actually brainstorm a good idea is one of the big challenges in the engineering industry. So I'll just take some kind of futuristic examples here, but just to say that these things are actually existing today in technology, in very new technology, and you need engineers to make them a reality. You have nanorobots maybe traveling through your bloodstream, delivering drugs. You have quantum communication satellites, which can deliver information much faster and more efficient than conventional satellites. You can have quantum computers being developed that can compute far more information than conventional computers can. You have the Tesla mega battery in the Australian outback, which can store way more energy than other comparable systems. You can have wearable electronics, which then leads to your artificial reality or virtual reality. You have exoskeletons or wearable suits that you can control using your mind. All of them need engineers. So once you have a really good idea, you then have to develop it. So I take the example of the iPhone. It's been developed over the course of 20 years or so with many different models. Think about the iPhone. You need electrical engineers to make the circuit. You need software engineer to make the interface and the apps. You need the reliability engineer because you don't want your phone to fail after a month or two. You need your mechanical engineer to take care of your casing. So you need many, many people working together on the product team to make a product a reality. And that is the job of the engineer. So what do you need apart from your technical expertise? You have to be able, for example, to produce the product on time, at a good cost, and you have to talk to each other effectively. So you have a situation where your soft skills, your communication, your teamwork, your self-reliance is very, very valuable. You see the picture of Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs here. Was he an engineer? No, but he was an advocate for Apple. And what he was best known for is not for his technical skills, but the fact that he was known as one of the world's best storytellers. So to communicate the idea, communicate the product that you are trying to develop and bring onto the world is a skill. And that needs to be part of your engineering training. So once you have a product developed, it's still a long way to go before you get it to the market. You need to have some financial engineering. You probably want to be, some of you want to be entrepreneurs. You need project management so that you can manage your project with all the parameters, all the risks, all the planning in control. You have to be an ethical engineer more than anything else. You have to manage very big data because manufacturing, for example, is becoming very complicated. You are processing many, many parameters. And sustainable. You're trying to save the world as an engineer. So that's quite a tall order if you want to think about it. The many different angles. So it's not just about being good at maths and science, but to have a more holistic skill set on what kind of skills you need as an engineer. So how do we do that at the university, at So I'm just going to give a little bit of an overview of our curriculum, and then I'm going to go into the different presentations provided to me by the departments, just to give you a little bit of a flavor as to how the different departments vary. But before I go into that, also, I just want to do a little bit of comparison with, what the other top universities, how they define engineering. Okay, so for example, top of the heap, you have MIT, which combine analysis. So you're a technical guy, you're really good at programming, you're really good with mathematics, but you combine that with curiosity. Are you curious about how the world works? Are you imaginative? Are you playful? Do you have an appetite, a passion for solving the hardest problems in service to society? So you're starting to see that, people are talking the same language that I've been trying to tell you before. It's not just about the technical. Can you innovate? Can you have really good ideas? So then you have Oxford, similar thing where you have broad foundations. So you need to have really good maths and science, but you also need to have specialized knowledge. So a mechanical engineer needs to understand the electrical engineer, needs to understand the chemical engineer, and so on. Okay, so it kind of repeats itself, and you can see that a similar story is, unfolds across the top universities. You can't just be a civil engineer or a biomedical engineer, because we all need each other. We need the scientists, we need the computer scientists. In order to make better systems, people need to kind of move on and break through their silos, break through the conventional things that you've learned at school, for example. Okay, so I'll just give you the elements maybe of what we do. So one of them is a strong fundamental, okay, which means that the non-negotiable, your maths and science do have to be good. And because you are joining a research university, hopefully by the time you join us, you will get an exposure to what your professors do, because you've seen in the previous slide, some of them are, supposed to be some of the world's top scientists, top researchers. So what is it about them that makes them good? So hopefully you'll have an experience to know and learn and pick up deep thinking skills, deep analytical skills. So those are what we mean strong fundamentals. And I believe that if you have a very strong base, then you can take your skills anywhere, okay? We are industrially engaged, which means that we give a lot of opportunities for industry talks and visits. If you do a project at the department, many of them are industry-based. We also have industry guest lectures for the selected subjects. We do design. So for example, a certain company comes to you with a manufacturing problem and is asking you to use IR 4.0 to solve their problem. We need to be able to do that. So we design projects to solve real world problems and research objectives. So that's how we kind of, work together as a faculty. So if you're curious to know what is the curriculum structure, okay? So we have a combination of 3 categories. The first one being university courses. This is something coming from the ministry. This is supposed to provide you with a baseline for the humanities and English skills. That's going to take up about 20 credits. Then we move on to the faculty courses, because some subjects are the same. Doesn't matter which engineering program you're in. You need mathematics. You need a bit of engineering law, engineering ethics, sustainability. You've heard me talk about project management, engineering economics, so that will be common for the faculty. And then once you go to the department, you are able to specialize according to your interests. And by the time you reach your final year, you will then be able to tune your interest or your passion to certain specializations. And we'll see that through some of the departments later on, and through your final year project subjects as well. So again, just to recap, we have a principle here where one department has one program. And I'll explain that. So we have biomedical, civil, electrical, chemical, mechanical, okay? But having said that, a single discipline is not simplistic. So if you are an electrical engineer, you can then specialize in something with data science or artificial intelligence or microelectronics. You want to be a chemical engineer, definitely you will be learning about process control, but you can go into wastewater treatment or the petrochemical industry or, biomaterials. Likewise, mechanical engineering. People like to join this if they're into cars. That's a very typical example, but mechanical engineering is so much more than that. You can go into very small mechanical systems up to the very grand scale. And biomedical is very futuristic. Everything that the hospital needs, the medical sector needs, they support in terms of instruments, in terms of devices. You have prosthetics, people who need help to walk. You have the scanners and so on. And then you have civil, which is pretty much, responsible for developing of of cities and urban planning. So everything from dams to high-rise buildings to waste treatment, transportation, that's under civil engineering. So very, very exciting as well. So I'm going to go into now the different subjects of engineering. So we have biomedical engineering first. This was prepared by its head, Dr. Juliana, but Dr. Nasrul is here with me should you be interested to know further during the Q&A. So biomedical engineering involves advances in engineering and science for biomedical use. Okay, and they are actually the first institute to offer biomedical engineering in 1997. And I will keep repeating this. We are accredited by the Engineering Accreditation Council of Malaysia, which means that upon graduation, you will be able to register, even the international students, with the Board of Engineers Malaysia. And I will also, at the end of this section, give you an indication of the other countries that you will be able to work in through this. So this biomedical engineering is a 4-year program with a total of 148 credit hours. The strengths, they work very, very closely with the medical people. So they receive support from the Faculty of Medicine, and University of Malaya also has its own teaching university. It's one of the best universities in the country. So they have very strong connections with the University of Malaya Medical Center. That's our hospital at the university. So our students go for visits, attend invited lectures, obtain the expertise, do projects with them. So they have a very close relationship with medical healthcare practices and industries. And I think you also deal with a lot of professional associations related to the biomedical industry, and they receive many projects from the medical experts and the health industry. There is also a student club which kind of coordinates all the activities under this department. So just to give you an indication, it's a very vibrant environment. I know for sure when I meet the biomedical students, they like their lecturers very much, including Dr. Nasrul. So as you can see, it's very interesting. You want to explain a little bit that, you know, they have a very big range of talents. I would say one of their recent graduates also he was in a beauty pageant, yeah. Miss Universe, but you know that's not the limit of it. They go to innovation camps, and you know they have a very strong sporting culture within the department. Yeah, so it's a fun department to be in. They all are. Okay, so then we move on to civil engineering. Dr. Yuan is here on behalf of Dr. Farida. So if you want to see a little bit, they've been climbing in terms of the rankings or the achievements, where they have a very strong academic reputation and the employer also regards them very highly. Just to give you an indication of how the course is structured throughout the years, they have a total of 143 credit hours, where the first year are usually the elementary subjects. Then in the second year, they start to look at the applications. They have, you know, engineering codes of practices which they need to apply. Dr. Yuan, I think, will be happy to elaborate should you have any queries for that. They also have a survey camp and labs. Okay, so once you go into the third year, then they go into more advanced application and design classes. They also have an integrated design project. So you have a very big project that you need to tackle within groups. And you also go for industrial training. All the different departments do make it compulsory for the students to go for industrial training for 4 weeks at least. So in the final year, they have elective courses, they have a final year project, and we also do for graduation purposes, a final year project conference. And they also have another design project called the Capstone Design. So they have 4 main clusters. So as I said, civil engineering is not just about making buildings, it's the whole ecosystem. So if you're interested in, the structures and the materials, that's one cluster. Water, environment, geotechnics, and then they have, the survey, the management side of it, because, if you're managing very big engineering projects, you have to be very organized about it. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of snapshot. So they are around, they take the survey camp during the semester over the summer. So you get to see all these civil students all over campus measuring things, which, the civil engineers can then explain. You have design projects. So you have to involve yourself in the planning, in the calculations, because you're engineers, you have to use science to calculate so that these structures don't collapse, they are safe to use, and so on. And then you also have final year projects. Okay, and these are some pictures. Civil engineering always to me has very interesting competitions. They have a concrete canoe competition. So these canoes are actually made of concrete. They also have a concrete bowling competition. Again, the bowling ball is made of concrete, you know, amongst others. They have bridge building competitions and so on. So again, I'm just trying to get across the student chapter in each of these departments is very vibrant. It's very interesting. Okay, so that's on the civil engineering. Now we move on to electrical engineering. So Dr. Chow is here. So this program is also accredited both by the Malaysian Engineering Accreditation Council. And once you qualify for this, you also qualify for the Washington Accord. I'll come back to that towards the end of this segment. So electrical engineers are outstanding researchers. So they are ranked 46 for electrical engineering. They have a number of highly cited researchers, innovators, the MIT Technology Review Innovator Under 35. That's one of our very junior lecturers who've been acknowledged for this. So you have, I think electrical engineering has a very interesting prospect that it's very flexible. So when you talk about electrical engineering, it's not just electricity. It's not just about power transmission. It covers electronics, it covers communications, it covers signals processing, it covers instrumentation, artificial intelligence, software engineering. So you have a variety of prospects. You could be a technopreneur, you could be a consultant, you could go into further postgraduate study to become a scientist or a researcher, you could be a software engineer, and definitely the students are very keen to go into, you know, to have skills such as cloud computing or Internet of Things to then upskill themselves for the job market. So that's what we try to impart in the curriculum, that it's not just being book smart, you're not just learning things from the textbook, but you kind of integrate it with your experiences within the curriculum. They can go for professional certifications such as Huawei networking certification. Their final year project, and everybody, all the departments are in the format of a competition and a conference, which we call Ingenious. We have a design project, which we then make it into a competition. And this is actually co-organized with different industries. So for example, we have industries such as the electrical service provider, we have Dyson on board, we have a number of industries sponsoring these projects. We also have an undergraduate research scheme where you can start to do your research at the undergraduate level. They have a makeathon, which means they have a fleet of drones, which they then customize to do certain challenges, and it's a competition. And they also have an ideathon, which is an ideation exercise. How do you get the best ideas, engineering problems out of it? Okay, so these are some of the activities in electrical engineering. Hopefully you'll have a chance to experience, you know, one of them when you come. And then we have chemical engineering. We have Professor Moh here, who I think is very keen to impart the different experiences that you could obtain through chemical engineering. They are very highly regarded in Malaysia, the chemical engineering school. They were established in 1972. They're top 100 in the world. They have another affiliation or accreditation, which is called the ICAME. So I think this is also very highly regarded. So when you graduate, you get this qualification as well. So you have the graduate membership, the ICAME and the Board of Engineers Malaysia, in addition to the EAC, Engineering Accreditation Council. Okay, they benchmark their curriculum with, you know, the top universities, and they have very, very experienced professors. So they have a lot of pictures in this segment, just to let you know that chemical engineering actually touches a lot of industry segments. So Top Glove, you know, the world's biggest glove manufacturer, definitely needs chemical engineers. So they did a visit there to see how things are done. They went to the water processing plant. Again, water processing, water treatment is a very big part in civil engineering. Okay, and the industry visit. They also go to an oil refinery. You have Petron, which is another oil refinery, and then you have Ajinomoto, which is actually a food processing plant. And then you have, they also do engagement with schools, for example, in terms of energy, because petroleum engineering is a subject being taught in chemical engineering. So you see that they have actually a society for petroleum engineering in the department. So chemical engineering has two different societies, so very well engaged with school children, industries, and so on. They also have an industrial engagement month, so they're very, very, very active. Okay. And they also organize their own national conference. This is done on an annual basis, so the students actually organize the conference. Okay. So then we go to the kind of industrial engagements. I think we've talked about this to some extent. So that's on the chemical engineering. If you're interested to follow them, then these are the social media channels in place. Okay. Last but not least, we have mechanical engineering. We have Associate Prof. Datin Bushra here. So they have a total of 24 university courses, credits, 22 faculty courses, credit hours, and 97 credit hours for the programs. So what they've tried to portray here is that they have different aspects of mechanical engineering. As I said, mechanical engineering is much more than just cars. So you have energy, which is a very, very well-known chapter for them. They have manufacturing, you have fluid mechanics, you have automation and control, materials is also a big segment in mechanical engineering, and you have solid mechanics. So you have a very big, and they have a very big department as well, so that kind of reflects the expertise that they have. So then you can then specialize into different expertise in your final year, for example, manufacturing engineering, materials engineering, energy, and product design. Okay, and all their engineers or the academic staff are registered with the Board of Engineers. They also, some of them have chartered engineers, and they have a very big body of staff, which is more than 50 academic staff. So they are very well engaged with some of the nations and international industries, and their student activities are very vibrant. So that's on mechanical engineering. Thank you very much. So finally, I think I've been kind of mentioning this a few times now on accreditation. So what happens is that when we teach you, we have to make sure your technical is good, your communication is good, you have sustainability, project management, all this. And the Accreditation Council comes and looks at you to see whether you have achieved all these attributes that are needed in order for you to graduate. So when they are satisfied with this, then you obtain the engineering accreditation, and upon graduation, you are then allowed to register with the Board of Engineers Malaysia, which you see on the left. So the Board of Engineers Malaysia is then affiliated to what we call the Washington Accord. It's an agreement. So members who have signed this agreement, they can exchange their graduates, which means that somebody from Japan or the United States can work in another member country according to Malaysia. So Malaysian graduates from University of Malaya Engineering, once you are accredited, then you can go to any of these member countries to work. So it's an international recognition, recognized by other signatory countries. It increases employment opportunities, and it's easier to gain professional recognition abroad. So that's kind of the beauty or the advantage of being part of this accreditation and the Washington Accord. Okay, so then I will go into the last segment with this heads of departments. We give you a little bit of snapshot on the engineering at UM experience. We have 98% graduating on time within the 8 semesters, provided you work hard, obviously. We have a high proportion of first-class statistics. As I said, they are active. There are competitions, eco-marathons, canoe design, makeathons, drones, everything. Design, so we support the design skills of the students through workshops, coursework, and society activities. We allow a big deal of mobility exchange. So you can come to UM and still go somewhere else as an exchange student. Okay, and I'll go into that later. Awards, so at the end of study, what you see in this picture, for example, we call the Royal Awards. And the Chancellor, this is actually a Malaysian king. I won't go into how many kings we have in Malaysia, but this is one of them. It gets a bit complicated for today's talk. So there are numerous awards that students receive at the end of their studies. This particular student, she won the overall award for best student, I think, in civil engineering. We believe in student empowerment, so which means that your activities at your department are largely co-organized according to your needs. So it's a discussion, a dialogue between the students and the professors to say, okay, what do we want to do this semester in terms of industrial talks, visits, career fairs. So we provide career opportunities, internship, interviews. A lot of companies come to us to interview prospective staff. We support that. Even after you graduate, for example, if you wish to further your studies, either in or overseas, we support that in terms of giving you the references and so on. So we hope to keep the very good relationships with you even when you graduate. So we have a student council, which is about 20 societies strong at the Faculty of Engineering. So it makes for a very interesting academic calendar. So not only do you have lectures, you have talks, you have, we have the industrial open day where industries come and get to know you and you get to know them. You have workshops, you have student lecturer meetings because you want to have open communication between the professors and the students to make sure that, things are being agreed upon, managed in a very win-win situation. So there's a whole range of activities throughout the academic calendar, just putting together all the different elements that I've been showing you through the different departments as well. So on the right are some of the logos of the student societies. So when you do come, if you come, please be active in them. So we also, because we are a research university, we believe in enhancing your capabilities. We have conferences that students organize. We have undergraduate research, which we give an amount of sponsorship for, where you are affiliated with a specific research lab. If you want to take it in charge of mobility, we have quite high numbers coming from all over the world. We even have people coming from Mexico, France. I've had interns from France, not to mention the closer ones, Japan, China, India, Indonesia, and so on, Thailand. Very, very active in that under normal circumstances. But even under abnormal circumstances, such as now, we have virtual mobility practices going on. But in happier times before, we've had students going to Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Japan, for example. So these are just some of the pictures, and definitely people come back very energized and inspired to work internationally. We also are very active in society engagement. We appear in the Malaysian press a fair bit. You may not understand what's on this page, but it's basically different applications. For example, this is on the biomedical side where they measure your spine abnormality. You have, I think this is from mechanical engineering in the middle, where they have, for those Muslims, when you do your washing, your ablution, so they have a machine designed for that by the mechanical engineering people. And then I believe that's Dr. Nasrul. Yeah, so this is because they also deal with a lot of disabled in the biomedical. That's a very significant contribution from the biomedical department. This is just to give you some snapshots of some of the learning spaces we have at the faculty. We call these cubes. They're very comfortable. They're very nice to use. We have laboratories, and that's kind of the end of this particular talk. So this is where I welcome questions from any of you. Over to you, Mr. Mahathir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor. It was a wonderful listening to your sharing, and we are thankful that you're here to share with us, and we truly hope everyone in this session will be immensely benefited from today's topic. So now I will proceed with the Q&A session. Okay, we have got several inquiries here from the audience, and in the interest of time, those questions that are not being able to be answered, you can always engage us through our email at study@um.edu.my. Okay, Doctor, for the first questions, this is an anonymous guy from Bangladesh. My age is currently 24, okay, he said, and he wants to apply for undergraduate for the next September intake, I guess next year. All I have I have all other high school and language requirements. Are there any age restriction, Doctor?
That's a interesting question. On paper, we have not encountered any age restrictions. You know, the usual things that people ask is what kind of qualifications and so on. Um, Currently, on paper, we do not have, so we review all applications on an equal basis and will be evaluated at the faculty committee.
The year they obtained the qualification.
Yeah, but we do need to know when exactly was the year that you obtained your last qualification.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. So next questions from Tam Nin. What are the requirements to study bachelor's in biomedical engineering in UM?
Okay, Dr. Nasrul, you want to answer that?
Okay, for biomedical engineering, so obviously what we need to have is that you have a basic understanding related to the physics and as well to the mathematics. Okay, we kind of put an effort towards the biological as well, but for the time being, we just focus on the physics and as well mathematics. That is the two most important elements in order for you to apply for biomedical engineering. Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Doctor. Next questions from, okay, I don't know his name, but the question is it compulsory to register with the Board of Engineer once we have graduated from UM? Why so? Okay.
We don't make it compulsory, but should you need that in your future, it really depends on the industry that you're in. I make a comparison. A professional engineer is more commonly found in the civil engineering sector as to maybe compared to the electrical engineering sector, just due to the needs of the industry. Okay. But I don't know, in your particular employer or your future prospects, they might want it. So it's not something that you have to pay very much or to maintain that initial registration, except that should you then wish to become a professional engineer, either in Malaysia or elsewhere, you have to do a certain amount of work, which means that you have to be under mentorship under another engineer, professional engineer, and you get that qualification. But I would say, you know, the benefits of registering, even though it's not compulsory, far outweighs not registering. If I don't know if anybody wants to add from this table.
Maybe I can add.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you practice in Malaysia, so it is compulsory that you must register with PM. If not, you cannot practice as practicing engineer in Malaysia. But if you go back to your home country, it depends on your locals, what we call the engineering authority, whether you need to register with them. So but in Malaysia, if you want to practice as engineer, so you need to register with the PM, Board of Engineering Malaysia. Thank you.
And the fees is so cheap, affordable.
Yeah. It's 50 ringgit Malaysia for lifetime. Yes.
50 ringgit only, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, so we move to next question. From Haide from Pakistan. I graduated as a petroleum engineer last year. My question is, can I take admission in renewable energy as I have graduated as a petroleum engineer?
Pardon. He graduated with a petroleum engineering degree and would like to venture into renewable energy.
Yes.
That means he's going to, join the mechanical department, because the renewable energy is not really, although in Department of Chemical Engineering, we touch a little bit on the renewable energy, but the main focus is not on that. And I would say, definitely, from research-wise, this particular student can really take up some research that related to renewable energy based on his experience and knowledge gained from the petroleum engineering. And in fact, we have quite a number of students pursue their postgraduate studies after graduated from the petroleum engineering field. Yes, definitely. And provided he has met the entry requirements to pursue postgraduate studies, and the department will definitely consider the application. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Rata. Okay. We also have question from Song Peng. did electrical engineering course associate with other companies, such as having interns?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Industrial attachment is compulsory for all the engineering program, not just electrical. So you have to undergo 10 weeks industrial attachment at various industry. So yes, yeah.
Okay, right. Thanks, Doctor. And next questions about scholarship. Maybe I can answer that. For now, we do not have a full scholarship from UM, but we do offer financial assistance for postgraduate students. But there are some criteria that need to be fulfilled lah, in order to get this financial assistance. Some of the criteria, for example, you must have been offered as a graduate research assistant (GRA), okay, by UM for a period of at least 4 months. Okay, and then another criteria is applicant must not be sponsored by any federal, state, statutory body or any other organization, and must free from any debt or outstanding fees with UM. So you can get more info about this financial aid scheme, okay, from our website at aasc.um.edu.my. Right? Okay. We have a few more questions here. Okay. Um, okay. Is UM bachelor degree in engineering recognized by other university worldwide? If I were to further studies for postgraduate in other universities abroad, is it doable?
It's a definite yes. I mean, we've had our graduates go to, the top universities elsewhere. Recently, I had one guy from civil engineering who is now receiving a scholarship from one of the Italian universities. That's a very recent graduate. We've had students going on to study in Japan. I've had students, my own students who then move on to maybe Australia and won the scholarships there for postgraduate study. So I would say the UM brand is pretty strong in that sense for you to secure a place elsewhere.
Right. Okay. We have another question from Song Peng Xiang. Okay. Her question is, what are the specialization in the final year for electrical engineering course?
Yes, over to you, Dr.
Yeah, okay. We have a very good a variety of majors in the final year, but generally we can divide into 4 branches. Okay, so of course, the main branch is a bit conventional. Okay, it's on the power system and energy. All those is conventional, but in this branch, we are also doing a lot study on renewable energy as well and sustainability. There's another branch is on electronics. That is the low power branch. So during that electronic industry, microelectronics, nano electronics, nanomaterials, and so on. Okay, and also our department is very strong in telecommunications. Okay, yeah, or the ICT industry, the information technology industry. So, and the last but not least, actually Malaysia now we are very much into the industrial 4.0, if you know about that. So we also have a very good elective in the branch of industrial 4.0. So basically these are the 4 branches, but we also look into, for example, software engineering, AI, machine learning, deep learnings, and all the very advanced technology that's related to electrical engineering.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Very clear, Doctor. Okay, I think this is our last question. Okay, out of all 5 programs, which one is the most popular or most in demand? Can you explain more about it?
Yeah, electrical.
Maybe we go around the table and maybe hear from each head of department why their department is attractive.
Okay, maybe we can put aside the question. Maybe we can answer. Later. Okay. This is I think quite interesting. Just pop out questions from Muharrar Muhammad. Yeah. Salam. Hello from Indonesia. Okay. I want to ask about what is the difference between computer engineering with software engineering. What is the better? What's the better then? Because I want to study with that 2 engineer Thanks. Yeah, I think he want to know about the differences between computer engineering and software engineering. I think it's not related to Faculty of Engineering, right? Yeah, because this one should be on the Faculty of Computer Science and IT.
Actually, both of the degree is related to electrical engineering. Okay, but in in University of Malaya, we have another faculty. That's the Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology. So basically, they offer software engineering. So and then at electrical engineering, we used to offer computer engineering, but now we consolidate everything into a single program called electrical engineering. Okay, if in a very simple layman terms, if you want to understand. Computer engineering is more on hardware. Software engineering is more on the software part. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that is the easiest way to understand. But of course, it's not that simple. Okay, when you study, you will know that even you are in computer engineering, you need to know the software. When you are in software engineering, you need to know the hardware as well. So yeah, generally that is the differentiation.
And maybe I just want to add, going back to the thinking that, there are no clear boundaries now, so in electrical engineering, maybe you have to have very good programming anyway, which is going to be quite similar to what people in computer science do, but it shouldn't be a division. So why not work together on that? Because, there's even in civil, we're seeing a lot of Internet of Things being needed as well. So where conventionally you never would have that subject in the civil engineering curriculum. So boundaries are being broken. And we hope that you are open-minded to explore those kind of, overlapping between the disciplines.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I think that's all for our Q&A session. Because we also have our alumni from Faculty of Engineering as well, and they will share their experience as a student in UM, as well as the experience in the campus life. Okay, we have 3 alumni: Mr. Pedram, as well as Mr. Muhammad Hisham, and also Mr. Ali. So yes, Doctor, maybe we can invite them to.
So I just want to again record the thanks to my colleagues who've been with me so far. So thank you very much for making time for me, and hopefully we'll see some of you in one of the departments. So thank you to my colleagues. So we'll have a changeover now. I'll be introducing one recent graduate and 2 existing students who will be talking a little bit about their engineering at UM experience. So thank you guys. Okay, see you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Keep the mask on?
Yeah, you guys can keep the mask until you're talking, maybe? Okay. So it's my great pleasure to introduce 3 new faces at the table. So I'll start from the right. In the striped t-shirt is Mr. Pedram. He very, very recently graduated from electrical engineering. So he's going to share, he's just finished the whole process. I think he has quite a lot to share about his experiences. And we have Mr. Muhammad Hisham, otherwise known as Malasi. So he's mechanical engineering, final year?
Graduated.
Already graduated, so there's 2 of you graduated. And then we have Ali, who's also from electrical engineering, so he's a final year now. So I have the slides here. And I think maybe you guys just want to talk about yourselves in general before you go into your slides. How do you want to do it? It's very casual.
I was gonna just talk casual. I didn't prepare any slides.
It's fine.
Pedram, you want to go first since your slides are here? It's okay. Up to you. All right, guys. So my name is Muhammad Hisham, but everyone knows me as Malasi. So don't get confused if you see my name written somewhere and then you don't see the name Malasi in my name. So this is just what I'm known for. So I just recently graduated from mechanical engineering this past August, and I was called here to maybe tell you guys a little more about UM or about the engineering faculty in Universiti Malaya and what my experience was like when I was there. Of course, you guys, I can't see you, so it's a little hard to speak to you and look at the screen and just speak, but you guys, I think, know a little about UM and about its very prestigious rank amongst other global universities. So especially for the engineering courses, Last I checked, mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, as well as the other courses, all of them are like maybe top 50, if I'm not mistaken. So you're definitely in the right place if you're passionate about engineering on paper, yeah? As far as my experience goes, I can sum it up to you guys in three words: opportunity, hard work, and self-growth. So basically, if you're a person who's looking for self-growth, it's a really good place. So they provide you with opportunities that you can choose to take up these opportunities, and these opportunities will provide you with self-growth, and that self-growth can only be achieved through hard work. So all of these opportunities can be presented to you in the forms of clubs, competitions, activities, and facilities. A lot of facilities, even if you don't want to work with teams and clubs and competitions, you have facilities to get into individually and start doing whatever you want to do. So there's a lot of room for growth and improvement. So, but what's most important is hard work. You need to put in the work, take pride in your work. Don't just, I don't know, I need to choose my language a little carefully here. But so don't give it your all, give it your 100%, and make sure you work really hard to try to achieve whatever you want to achieve for you to be able to grow as an engineer and as a person in general. So that's pretty much from me.
Ali, you want to go?
Okay, it's Ali, I'll script because I've got yours in sequence. So if Ali would like to.
Hello everyone. So my name is Ali. I'm a final year student. I'm from Yemen. So I want to share my journey at University of Malaya, Department of Electrical Engineering. So first of all, I want to just summarize. It's going to be my journey is going to be just in three factors: the high qualified staff, the curriculum, and the diversity. So for the high qualified staff, you will be taught by lecturers that are very qualified. So you always will keep in track with the newest advances on the industry. So that was maybe my favorite one among the three of them. Then the curriculum, where it was my pleasure to go to the curriculum review 2019, where you can actually share your experience on the syllables that you are studying, and then so you will see new improvement in the system that will suit everyone within the department. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm the guy on the back. So yeah, so the curriculum is amazing. It consists of both the research and the projects. And what Malasi just referred to as opportunities, I can refer to as diversity. So for me, before I go to UM, I had a foggy image about my career future. Would I want to go to the industry, or would I want to go to the research-based projects? And after 1 year, because you will simultaneously work with both of them on your first year, you will be able to choose. And as you choose, there will always be some additional optional project that will strengthen your skills even more. So for me, I went to the industry, but I found my passion is more to the research. So I did the undergraduate research fellowship about Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi basically is the new generation of Wi-Fi. Is the way that the internet's going to the device is going to communicate. So it will also strengthen my skills and the research is very much. So the opportunities are very high. And now I can do actually my research, my final year project in something called the density functional theory, which is also a research-based project. So for me, as I said, my experience consists of finding my passion to what my future career will be, which I choose to be the research-based. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So on to Pedram. Just maybe want to say a few things about Pedram as kind of he's setting up his part of the slide. He was quite instrumental for us to help organize the international student body in the Faculty of Engineering. So very grateful to that, because he started to put a bit of structure in the department for the international students and also at the faculty. And even for today's talk, he actually volunteered to come back and bring back Malasi with him actually. So thank you for that. So over to you.
Okay. everyone, this is Petram, also from engineering, as they say. Same as Malasi, I came with him, I go with him. We both came in 2016 and we graduated a few months ago. He's mechanical and I studied electrical. Being an enthusiasm about Internet of Things, it kept me here to study my master's here. I decided to continue my studies here with a company called NXP. Maybe if you are in the semiconductor area, you know this company is one of the biggest one. The reason that I decided to continue my studies here in is because I live here in engineering. At least we have a lot of opportunities waiting for you, as Malasi said. So there's a lot of things for you to discover and to enjoy. So I'm going to share a few of them. Obviously, as an electrical engineering student, most of my time was a department. There's a lot of clubs there, as Malasi also said. There's a lot of clubs that you can join and you can enjoy. I joined a club called CORE, that is a Center of Research for Applied Electronics, led by Prof. Mahmoud. I joined a robotic club and I joined the competitions of combat robot and presented in some of the exhibitions. It's very fun that you can learn about robots, how to build a 30 kg robot that can go fight with each other. So it was fun to build them from scratch. But I was there for a year, but most of my contribution to the department was in the student club, which is called MESA there. I was an international student representative there. We have a lot of internationals there, I think 30 to 40 internationals. I try to create a community among them themselves and also bridge them to the local students. That's, I think, one of the hardest jobs in the world after working in a mine, I can say. But it's going well. I think they are very well getting together. And just like any other club, when you join, you have to do a lot of teamwork. It's all about contribution and commitment. So when you join a club, it's you join your family. So you do everything together, you enjoy, you give all, you get the benefits, and it's going on. So I think my photos is there as well. Aside from department, most of my time was in Motorola Solution Lab. I was a research assistant there. There's a cool thing about engineering is that you have this industrial building there, where there is a lot of companies having labs there, and you can, if you're keen enough, you can go and get involved in the projects. And when you get involved in the projects, I was supervised by Dr. Narendra. He's helped me a lot to the IR 4.0, IoT, and everything. So when you get involved into the projects, into the meetings, into presentations, you get to know how to talk, how to present, how to read, how to research, basically everything. And that's exactly the skills that you need when you go out with a degree that the employer is looking for it. So remember that education is not just memorizing a bunch of stuff in your head for 4 years. It's mostly learning. It's the art of learning and how to be adaptable to the learning for your whole life. So I got my engineering skills there. I got introduced to the industry a lot there. And I think lastly, in the Faculty of Engineering, we care a lot about freshies. When you come to the faculty, we have this festival of engineering festival. Basically, there's like a 1 week of programs, workshops, talks for you to get along in the university, the engineering. I was happy that I could be part of it for 2018. I was in the sport bureau, in the head of sport department. And I think it was good to know everybody there. And it's a cool experience. So to wrap it up, I can say engineering is a lot of opportunities. It's you who you decide. There's a lot of bad things, a lot of good things. End of the day, it's you who you decide that where to go and what to do. So yeah, I think that's all for me.
Thanks a lot, Pedram. So that's kind of what they prepared. I think it's more on their studies here and their particular passions. Ali is very much into the research side of things. I realized that he's one of my students. Pedram, definitely, I think you had a lot of exposure through Dr. Narendra and so on. And Malasi, of course, in mechanical, it's a very big school as well. Do you guys want to talk a little bit maybe about the culture shock, maybe when you first came, or any adjustments, at the beginning?
I don't know if this applies to me and Pedram because we've been here for a while.
You were here before, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Ali, I think you can tell them a little about that.
I think for me it was fine. First of all, I won't say I'm open-minded, but I'm just okay with diversity. I love diversity in everything. So for me, it was okay to go along and it's not my first travel outside home. So I was already used to travel and stay like more than 1 year away from my country.
For me personally, I didn't experience a culture shock or whatnot, but from what I've seen from some of the international students that have, the biggest problem they faced most of the time was language. Some of the people who come from abroad, they find it difficult to integrate with society or with other students because of language. So before you come, just make sure you have a good grasp over at least the English language. You don't have to learn Malay. You learn it when you come here, when you interact with people, and you take a course in university. But make sure you can communicate with people for you to be able to integrate well into the community here, especially the international community. Yeah, so that's what I think. Language is most important.
When you join, there is always a bounding issues because people also coming to the as a local student, Malaysian students, they are not coming from KL as well. They're coming from other cities, and when they come here, they also feel as what you feel. They came in. This is the first time that they go out from the city. They have to live without their parents, so they also get this defensive bound for themselves, and that's sometimes the issue that we have between the internationals and locals. The internationals, sometimes we cannot get along with the locals at the first step, but this is only for a few weeks, I can say. When we all get along here in the we go to the classes together, we do the things together, then we get to know each other, and it just starts. So don't worry if, at the beginning it's like, oh, nobody wants me. It's just a process that takes time to go through. Yeah.
And maybe I just add to that is that one of the words that Ali used, diversity. Bring the diversity to I had one class, I was teaching a very general subject called thinking and communication skills. And it never happens, but in that class, I had 16 international students and 2 local students. It's usually the other way around, but I had that scenario. So it was a very interesting scenario for me to be teaching that class for a whole semester. And what I appreciate or value when you have that mix with the international with the local is that you think differently. Use that to your advantage, because Malaysians, maybe through the education system, through their cultural bounds and so on, maybe take certain things for granted and may think in a certain way. Okay, and then maybe some of them have not been abroad and so on, maybe don't have many international friends. So when you come, you bring your different way of thinking, but use that as an asset for you. Because I find it really useful, especially in a subject like thinking skills. Okay, you definitely think different. It's very interesting for me. Yeah, so is there anything else that you guys want to add? We've talked about maybe adjustments, cultural.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, make sure you bring in the diversity. Don't try to blend in, but be who you are and try to bring in that new perspective to whatever problem you're facing, whether it's an engineering problem if you're coming to the engineering faculty, or a problem that you're facing in some of the student societies you're joining. And as far as being part of I think it was great, since provides you with a lot of opportunities that I mentioned before, but a lot of universities don't have it from what I know, and I've known a lot of people from different universities. They don't have the facilities, nor do they have their university take in different programs, different diverse programs and competitions. Yeah, so make sure you take advantage of that. Try to join as many as possible. Try to grow your soft skills as well as your technical skills, because this opportunity is presented to you. It's given to you in a silver platter. So make sure you don't waste that opportunity. And if you ever decide to come to and the best of luck for your studies.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on that, because what Malas is saying is actually quite unique to and some other campuses in Malaysia, and that is the college system. Okay, and I didn't do this in the slides, but what happens is that when you come to you will be offered to live on campus. Okay, and we have 12 residential colleges. One of them is actually especially for international students. So if you're a little bit apprehensive, you're going to come to this big college and you'll be the only international student in 600 local students. That's not the case. Okay, so a residential college is where you come and you will stay there. All right, but it's not just a dormitory. It's not just where you sleep. The college system is like a system on its own. All right, because they're going to have the societies in there. So when you come to the faculty, you have societies in engineering. But when you're in college, you have the societies will have cultural activities. They're going to have concerts. They're going to have sporting competitions. They're going to have, chess competitions. Some of them go overseas for certain outreach activities. So it's very, very diverse. I think that's what, Malasi was trying to allude to as well. So when you come, and I hope that you do make that option rather than living in a rented accommodation somewhere out of campus, take advantage of the fact that you can stay in campus. It's obviously cheaper, you just walk everywhere in campus. It's a walkable campus, it's a comfortable campus, lots of eating places in campus. And it allows you to have a very lively social life, even in campus. Okay, so yeah, did you guys all stay in campus as well?
I stayed in campus and I stayed off campus. So I experienced both, and I can tell you that there's, even if you're staying off campus for whatever reason that you had to stay off campus, you won't miss out on a lot of the activities because they managed to integrate them. They have, like, for the sporting competitions, for example, they have a team for each residential college and a team for people who are staying outside.
Right.
For every activity, everybody's invited to come in and everything. So I experienced the life in the college. It was really fun. There was a lot of things to get into. I joined the swimming team. I joined the chess club. I tried to join the chess club. I wasn't great at it, but I played with them a few times. So yeah, and many other competitions like Hult Prize and different hackathons, makeathons. There's just a lot that you can get into and a lot of room for you to grow and learn. You would learn presentation skills, communication skills, thinking skills, technical skills, whatever field in engineering you are. All of these skills, you would be able to polish them. You would have the opportunity to polish them, but you have the choice in your hand, whether you want to take advantage of it or you just let it go and study and make sure you get good grades, but you don't try to polish any other skill that you have. So you have the choice, you have the opportunity presented to you here.
Add on to the college experience?
I wasn't living in the college. I was outside because I'm living with my family here for about 10 years now. But I didn't really experience differently from Malasi.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the college, I'm outside the college. But whenever I came here in the UM, I always get invited to the things. There's like a club for us, there's International Student Center for us. There's always this community that welcomes you, that you never be alone. Even wherever you live, you'll never be alone. Either by the internationals or by your clubs in your department. There's a lot of different clubs in the UM as well. I think you join the sport clubs. It's not even in your department. It's not even the colleges, but it's around the campus. There's a lot of cultural things that are happening here that you can join.
Yeah, those activities are very fun.
Yeah, so when you join these things, as I said, any club that you join, you bound the family to yourself. So you never be alone, basically.
Anything you want to add, Ami?
I actually lived outside, but for me it's just like self-preference. I stay with my friends sometimes 1 week inside UM, but because I live with my almost childhood friends, we live outside in an department, in an apartment. So it's just, I think, self preference. But for those, like, if you're just going to come with alone with no friends, I suggest you to go to make friends, and I think it will be better for you to go inside the campus.
So I think the main thing is to have that support system, regardless of, you've got family, you've got childhood friends, you did 50-50 thing maybe. And the other thing, even from the local student perspective, Malaysian students, they have an advantage. Once they are very active in college, they are viewed favorably by the employers, similar to what Malasi said, because you have all these skills that you're picking up, your communication skills, your management skills. So all those things that I was talking about earlier, you get that for free in living in college and just being active in all those activities. So it's really, really up to you how you make the most of things. I've been teaching for 22 years. I've seen, all sorts of students, both international and local. So it's those who really take advantage of the opportunities in front of them to make a better, a richer experience during your university years.
And a tip for anyone who's joining engineering, during the summer, if you don't have any activities you have in the faculty, try to approach companies for internships, because that's going to help you a lot. Like throughout my studies, every summer I used to do an internship, and it being the first time was because they had a really good image of UM, and that allowed me to get accepted into that internship program. And from that, it helped me get other internships as well as many other interviews in companies. So try to take advantage of the summertime to approach companies to learn even more. And being a student in UM, that gives you an edge in different companies.
Okay, That's great. Thank you. Yeah, another question came to mind to all of you actually. How long do you foresee remaining in UM? You know, you both graduated, you're both still here. You know, you're graduating soon. So what do you think your plans are?
So you want to go first or should I go first?
Okay.
So I was proposed with after I did my FYP and I finished, I got this opportunity to work with the HOD. She was here, Dr.
yeah.
Bushra. Yeah.
All right.
So she had this project and she proposed to me a master's, and it's also kind of a scholarship opportunity to finish my master's. So I already had my plans in my mind to do my master's, and I had my eyes on a different scholarship because I didn't know UM offered one. But that scholarship closed down because of COVID. So when I was presented with this, I took the opportunity, and now I'm continuing my master's here in UM.
Yeah, same as him. As I mostly same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to continue my master's here as well. When I graduated, I was offered the master's by a company called NXP. Yeah, I did my FYP as well, final year project with them as well. So it's like a continuing of that. But there's one thing about UM is that they know UM as a mother university of Malaysia. They know it as an industrial thing that they can trust that. So it's a good thing that when you're going to the company, when you say that you're from UM, they already have the knowledge, they know you. So it's a bit easier to bound the collaboration. That's what's easy for me, that when I said I want to do my master's with you, they said, okay, here's a project, we can go around, and you know, the things go very smoothly. Other than if you're at a different university, it might go very differently. But being in a UM makes it a bit easier to go because they already know who is UM.
Yeah, before I'll just add on to that. So his opportunity was a company that approached him for that was the grant basically for the project. That was the money they were going to use for the project, and this is how he's funded. For me, the different funding, it's a grant that was offered through a different organization, right? So there's different organizations that fund many different research projects in UM. That's why there are many different research opportunities and research assistant positions in Universiti Malaya. A lot of different organizations provide support, financial support for different research projects. And this doesn't only give you the opportunity to get a partial scholarship from Universiti Malaya, but also gives you personal funding. They will also give you some allowances and whatnot. So there are many different sources of funding. That's why there's a lot of different opportunities for postgraduate level studies.
Yeah, so for me, as I said, I'm more of an academic guy, and for me, actually, one of the things that I love at the University of Malaya is that if you show good academic progress, you can actually skip masters and go direct PhD. So actually, that's what I'm probably gonna do. Actually, after I finish my final year, I will apply for direct PhD, and after maybe 2 years or 4 years from now, I can be already having a PhD certificate.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't foresee myself in the industry actually. So I'm not engaged a lot with the companies as my fellow friends here, but for me, just it's going to save me a lot of time. If you see yourself as an academic, you can just study hard and try to go for a direct PhD.
So that's actually a good point. I also forgot to mention that we have something we call the fast track system. So let's say you graduate from UM with a CGPA, the point average of more than 3.7, which means you graduate with distinction. Then you may go through a process. It's not kind of guaranteed, but there's a very optimistic chance that you may apply directly to a direct PhD pathway to do a PhD in UM. We don't answer for other institutions, obviously. So then you would have to submit your proposal, defend it to group panel and everything. But in the first place, you will be eligible to apply. So that's a very attractive prospect, and that's how we hope to actually keep, the high-performing students, because we're a research university. So when I hear, people like Pedram and Malasi opting to stay in UM to do their postgraduate studies, that's very positive for us because we like to keep the good ones. Yeah. So that's definitely an option if you are academically inclined. Yeah, it's great to know. Anything else that you guys would like to add on, or do you want to go for some questions from them?
Ready for questions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Mr. Mahavir, ready when you are. If I'm happy to field any questions if they're wanting to ask their peers or their seniors on their experience.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pedram, Mr. Hisham, yeah, and also Mr. Ali for your wonderful sharing. Okay. I I think we don't have any questions for now. And I think we can now conclude our webinar series for today. And allow me to take this opportunity to express our utmost gratitude to our guest speakers, also our students, alumni for guidance, and also for the wisdom as well, and the audience also for spending your time with us. We hope to see you soon at UM. And last but not least, do not forget to tune in our upcoming episode on 18th of December at 3 p.m. Whereby we will be sharing exclusively with you on STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics revolution post COVID-19. And the best part is in this session, we'll be joined by our eminent speaker, Professor Dr. Yatima Alias, Director of Academic Strategic Planning Center, Universiti Malaya. Last but not least, again, do not forget to leave us your feedback of today's webinar, and we hope to see you again in the next episode. Okay, yeah, that's all for today. Stay safe, okay, stay healthy. Thank you, goodbye, and see you again.
Thank you, Mr. Mahathir, for hosting. Thank you.
Bye-bye.